Hello and welcome to the Elliott Confidential Podcast. I'm Christopher Elliott and I am joined by Aren Elliott and Aiden Elliott. Hey guys.
Howdy.
How are you doing?
Been a pretty good week here.
Yep.
We're in Split, Croatia again for the second week. And we've kind of gotten into a nice routine here. And guess what?
What?
You're supposed to say what?
What?
Summer's over.
Oh my God!
Well, it is. It's kind of like this is traditionally the end of the summer. And everyone is here is saying that the summer is over, but it really isn't. Summer, of course, lasts until the middle of September. But everyone is thinking of it as being kind of the end of the summer travel season. So today I'm going to take you guys down to the city center for a really cool tour. And our question of the week, which is, tell us about your best travel experience during the fall, whether you went leaf peeping or you went down to the Caribbean or maybe you just took a staycation. What's your favorite thing that you've done in the fall? And the reason that I'm asking is that I would like to know, because we're planning our fall trips now and a lot of people are, and we want to know.
And also we kind of want something to cheer ourselves up after making that worst vacation rentals video. Coming soon, by the way, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
That might be actually linked to this podcast if we get it done soon. Now,
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I'll tell you what, you guys will love the intro, love the content, great stories to tell, and there's more videos to come.
And the reason why is because you're the editor, right?
Yes.
Yes. Aiden is quite the accomplished editor. He's studying editing in graduate school,
Production.
and he is part of a big community of YouTubers that do editing. So I think you'll like his work.
I actually sent that intro off to a couple of YouTuber friends. These guys, like, they know their way around YouTube. They have 30, 40, 50,000 subscribers. It's a group of people, and they loved it. They loved it. And that gives me confidence that the listeners of this podcast, when you guys click on that video and you start watching it, you're going to love it too.
Okay, I will link to it. It's on the 5 worst vacation rental disasters, and I think you are going to like it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed making it.
Mm-hmm.
Had a lot of good
Me
energy.
too.
Let's go into Split. Now, when people think of Croatia, they typically think of Dubrovnik, which is the flashier and more maybe well-preserved of all of the cities. It's a nice coastal city, and we're going to be visiting there soon. But most Americans go to Split. And we live on an apartment on a hill. It's not a very flashy, luxurious apartment by any stretch of the imagination. But every day we walk down into the center of town. And that center of town is really amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to take you to a place in the center of town that almost everyone goes to. It is the city center itself is the former villa of a Roman emperor named Diocletian. And Diocletian is famous for persecuting Christians. He actually basically signed a death warrant for all the Christians. And so he had a really amazingly cool villa that he built there. And the villa is gone, but you can go into the basement and see what the basement looks like. And there's all kinds of people there. There's a market down there. And there's 2 wings of the basement that you pay to get into. And we went and visited them. Aren, describe what the basement was like.
Well, the basement is famously used in Game of Thrones. That's one of the things.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But the basement, it's really spectacular because it looks really, how can I say? It looks like some ancient development that's still standing. You know how you go to one of those ancient ruins and you're like, oh, if only this was still standing, if this were still in its former glory. Well, this is in its former glory.
Yeah, and the reason it was so well preserved, this is an interesting story, is...
Well, it was very well preserved because it was used as sort of a dumping ground.
That's right.
So you actually couldn't go here if you wanted to 100 years ago.
Wait, so it was preserved in trash?
That's right. They dumped all the trash into the basement, and that's how it got preserved.
Yeah.
So you see these beautiful arches down there, and there's an art exhibit too now. And they used really very precisely cut limestone bricks.
Okay, so then, like, if a celebrity's on stage and people start throwing trash at them, that should be probably taken as a comment. It's like, oh, we want to keep your beauty.
Oh, right, yeah. I don't know about that. Not so sure.
Okay.
The city of Split itself, though, is really fascinating to me because it's just this hodgepodge of different architectures. You have Roman, you have medieval, then you have modern, then you have the Italian influences, because there have been so many places, so many countries actually that have invaded and occupied Croatia.
Yes. And you get all that in the center, and then of course you go out and then you have Croatian architecture, which is
yeah, not so.
We talked about it last podcast.
We did.
Yugoslav.
Go back.
It's Yugoslav.
It's Yugoslav chic.
Yugoslavian.
That's what you would call it.
Oh, chic.
Right.
Yeah.
You just add chic to it and it makes it
yeah,
all better.
It always makes it sound better, yeah.
Yeah, one of the interesting things about the architecture in the downtown, especially Diocletian's palace, was that it was so popular because of Game of Thrones that a couple years ago, most tours in Split were just because of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Really, wow.
And now they have that prequel out, so it could become very popular again. But they have a Game of Thrones museum, and then they have the cellars, and then also these churches. And ironically, Diocletian, he didn't like Christians, but then he had a mausoleum, and when the Christians took over, they removed Diocletian's body. They didn't like him very much, of course, and they replaced his body with the bodies of two saints that he had actually persecuted and killed. So that's definitely an irony, is that Diocletian's tomb is now being used for the tomb of two saints.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ironies here, really.
Yeah, it's a very ironic city.
Yes, it's very ironic. We also walked up to the top of the hill, and there's a zoo up there and an observatory, and you can really see the town from there. And we got rained on a lot too. But it is such a beautiful town that I don't think people think of when they think of Europe. They don't necessarily think of Split first. They think of London and Paris, which we've been to, but they don't think of Split. And I think maybe they should, because this really has so much history. If you're a history buff, you definitely need to see this place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this place has a lot of history, mainly because of the Roman Empire. So you have all of that history there. You have one of the emperors, Diocletian's, living here.
I didn't even realize this, but the French, they occupied for a couple of years. You had the Austrians, the French, the Italians.
Yeah.
It was part of the Byzantine Empire for a while.
Yeah.
This place is really traded hands. I think that if I played my cards right, I might be able to own it as well. Just occupy it and say, this is now my country.
Ha ha.
I'm kidding.
It's true, but it has been under a lot of rule. A lot of different rulers, different governments, different empires. It's a crazy place, and you get all of that influence here. I mean, we were talking with a tour guide here, and really Dalmatia, which is where Split is, it's a part of Croatia. It's very different from the rest of Croatia.
That is true.
It's different from other places. It really is something that you just have to come to see for yourself.
Yeah. And speaking of changing hands, it's part of the EU now, and they are switching to the euro at the end of the year.
Really?
Yeah. Well, you missed this, and we should also explain why you missed the tour. What happened to you, Aiden?
Oh, I fell very badly, and I hurt my knee, and I couldn't walk.
We thought that you were going to have to go see a doctor.
Yes.
And then I remember that you were 17, and 17-year-olds heal very fast.
Yes, we do.
And then the next day you were fine.
2 days later, I was...
Okay, 2 days, whatever.
Yeah.
It's 24 hours between friends, right? Anyway, you couldn't go on this tour with us, which is too bad.
Oh, yeah, that sucks.
Aiden does not like historical tours very much.
They're just slightly boring to me.
Slightly. Just slightly, yes. Well.
Yeah, I would rather, watch 100,
So let's talk about food then, because is food something you like?
Yes.
What's the food situation like here in Split?
I think you'd be surprised by the food options you'd find here.
Surprised positively or negatively?
Okay. If you have a very negative perception of the options, then positive. And if you have a very positive, then I have no idea where I was going with that.
I don't know where you're going with that either.
If you expect nothing from Croatia when it comes to food, I think you'd be surprised. If you expect the same amount as Europe, you would be sorely
Yeah, it's not Paris,
mistaken.
right?
Yes. So we expected nothing because we were like, Croatia? What's Croatia? You know, we're like, you know, we thought of it the same as like North Macedonia, which who
Yeah,
knows about
it's
North
Eastern
Macedonia?
Europe,
Yeah,
right?
it's like,
Exactly.
oh, what is this? But if you come here, you'll find some good food options. We've been able to eat just fine.
They they have decent pizza, which we tend to
Very
like. They
good
have a
pizza.
couple of malls. I think we visited every mall
We
in
visited
Split.
every mall. We visited the Joker Center. We visited the City Center Mall and the Mall of Split.
Yes. Well, when you live here, that's really you would go there.
They're
We
all
thought
in walking
one of them
distance
had
of
an
each other.
we thought one of them had an IKEA, but it didn't
They
really
don't.
have an
They
IKEA.
have an IKEA showroom.
Yeah, right. I think that you have to look really hard also to find good groceries.
Mm-hmm.
The grocery stores here are small.
Yeah.
They have everything that you have to have, but they're not really like U.S. grocery stores, like Whole Foods or Costco or Sprouts. Yeah,
Publix, Safeway.
Yeah,
Even Safeway. Safeway would be considered a big grocery store
it
here.
would. Yeah.
Yeah, even the small Safeways that you find in like Alaska, like, well, no, there's no small Safeway in Alaska. I take that back. But anyway, even small Safeways. This place has really small grocery stores.
Yes, smaller than in France. And France had some small grocery stores as well.
Yes, but the small grocery stores there were very specialized.
Yes.
So you could just walk in a 1 block, radius and find everything that you needed.
Yeah.
But here, all of the grocery stores are small and they sell the exact same things.
That's right. And it's, uniquely Croatian. And we're actually starting to really understand the Croatian mindset. People here are very proud to be Croatian. And I found out from our tour guide that the reason why they're so proud is because they've been invaded so many times and they still manage to keep their national identity. So when you say, I'm Croatian, people are just very enthusiastic about being Croatian because they survived all of these occupations, plus communism, plus the Romans, and I mean, just everyone. So that's why Croatians are so happy to be Croatian.
I would be too.
But Croatians are also very friendly. Like, these are the friendliest people that I think I've met in all of Europe. They smile a lot. They want you to be happy. They will do almost anything to make you happy. It's been really great I feel good talking to people here. Yeah. But it still is, the place that we're in is still, like we said last week, it's still a little bit of a communist throwback and it's not the most modern, but the people are very nice.
Yeah. And I would say, to that, we said this in the last podcast, if you just decide not to rent outside of the center of the city, you're good. Fine.
You're good. Speaking of which, our question of the week, which I have to repeat again, is tell me about your very favorite fall trip. Where did you go? What did you do? And would you recommend it to someone else? I would love to know because we're right now planning some of our fall trips. And we'd love to know, especially if you're in Europe or the Middle East, which is where we are right now. Let us know where you went. It's time for your comments. Last week I asked, have you ever visited a city that's offered both a positive and a negative experience? And you had a lot to say about that.
Yes.
Janet says, New Delhi, or pretty much any city in India, you step out of a nice hotel and you see people living under tarps, including the cows. Okay, Janet, we have not been to India yet, but it's on our list, so maybe we will have a chance to see the duality of India. Betty says, Belfast, we saw a castle and recently bombed out homes on the same street. The tour guide described it as a little trouble last week. Can I do that in
a little trouble
in
last
Irish
week.
accent? A little trouble last week.
Yes.
That sounds like big trouble. Patrick says, Chicago. Oh, yeah. Great place to visit. Wouldn't want to live there. No, he didn't say that. He said great shops, theater, events, and food. Won't go back because of traffic and increased crime. That reminds me of the summer that I lived on Taylor Street in Little Italy. And we lived right across from this bar where there were these mafia guys that would come and they would have, it was called the Rosebud Cafe, and they would go and have dinner. Someone named History Chef says Frankfurt, in fact, most cities in Germany, Frankfurt has a small historic region, but is mostly modern commercial center. You know, I used to live in Frankfurt when I was in Germany on my Fulbright years and years ago. And yeah, it is it's a little bit depressing, parts of Frankfurt are, but I love the food there. Then again, I like German food, so whatever. Mickey says Reno, Nevada. Okay.
Okay, wait, we lived in Reno, Nevada. I can attest to this.
Wait, hang on. Wait, before, let me tell you what Mickey said.
Let me just assume what she's about to say. Let me guess what she's about to say.
Guess.
Okay, she's going to say, okay, half of it is a fiery blaze, and then the second you get into the city, it's a concrete jungle, and there's not enough to be set afire.
Mickey says, on the surface, it's known for 3 things. A facsimile of Las Vegas, true. Divorces, yes. And its proximity to Tesla's Gigafactory. But she says parts of Reno are picturesque and charming. There's also a good food scene, some lovely homes, decent university, beautiful rolling hills, and it's close to Lake Tahoe. Lake Tahoe has the best skiing ever.
Wait. If that's the good part, does that mean the bad part was being close to the Gigafactory and divorce? Well, divorce is that okay? That's a bad thing.
I don't know.
But okay, if you go out into the suburban areas of Reno, you will realize that it is actual hell on earth because the shrub gets so dry there that every single summer
we were there
constantly on fire.
And we were just there during a really bad time in the summer of 2020 when it was basically the hills were on fire.
Everything was a fiery blaze at that time.
But if you come back though in January or February and you go skiing, and I know you love to ski,
yes,
you will love Reno. It is awesome.
Like Tahoe, yeah.
Yeah, a little cold.
Yep, but there was a big contrast between the middle of the city and the suburbs, which is where we were for a while.
Our last comment is from Karen. She says, this seems rather obvious, but when I visited East and West Berlin, the differences couldn't have been more extreme. From the cultural and bustling island of West Berlin to the dark, drab, communist East Berlin, I found that black and white film best depicted East Berlin. And I did visit West Berlin in 1974, in the old days. And I remember we actually were able to go into East Berlin, and I remember the contrasts. Even back then, I was very young, but I still remember it. And now when you go back there, of course, there's no contrast. It's all Berlin, and it's all very, Berlin. What can I say?
Berlin.
Berlin bleibt doch Berlin. Didn't Kennedy say that?
No, ich bin ein Berliner.
He did say that he was a jelly donut at some point.
But no, because even then they knew Berliner didn't mean jelly donut. It mean a person from Berlin. And look, if you're a person from Hamburger, you're a Hamburger.
Yes, you are.
So
it's a Hamburger.
So it means both things.
It does.
So when people say, "Oh, he said I'm a jelly donut," oh, it's so funny. He's saying both things. That's like saying, "Oh, it sounded like that guy said pee-pee," even though he's talking about the orange drink from Croatia.
There is an orange drink in Croatia called pee-pee.
There is
P-I-P-I.
And the thing is, it tastes good first of all.
Yeah, it's not bad.
But we were at a restaurant. I'm like, "Can I get some pee-pee?" And our waitress said, "Oh yeah, I can get you some pee-pee. Do you want a glass with your pee-pee?" And I said, "Yes, I would love a glass with my pee-pee."
Would you like some ice in your pee-pee?
Yeah, no, I remember. But they pronounce it pee-pee.
Yes,
funny.
it's P-I-P-I. I just want to make everyone really clear. It's P-I-P-I.
Yeah, it's worse that it's an orange, yellowish beverage.
I know.
Yeah.
But that's the duality of Croatia for you right there.
That is.
Yes. It's been so much fun sharing our adventures in Split. We are off to Dubrovnik next week. And that's the place where a lot of tourists go as well. And we are going to explore Croatia even more. I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself, but Dubrovnik's next. And I can't wait to tell you what happens there. And in the meantime, have a great week, everyone. Thanks so much for listening.
Yep, thank you very much. See you.
See ya.